Welcome to Catch Outdoors. I'm your host, Captain Rob Modes. This podcast is about living and playing in the Florida Keys, a 125-mile-long chain of islands that runs from Key Largo all the way down to Key West. I cover my favorite sport, fishing, but also all the many things to see and do down here in the islands. Catch Outdoors, hosted by Spotify, also brought to you by your favorite podcast network. So kick back and relax with me in the Keys. This week's episode is Catch Outdoors number 152. Hello all, and good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on when you are listening and tuned in to the podcast. I'm recording this on Sunday afternoon, August the 18th. How y'all doing out there? Hope everyone had a good week. This podcast is mostly about enjoying yourself, so all week, right? So if you can, yeah, I know a great many of you all are still working or you're not retired or whatever. That's okay. You can still have fun evenings and especially the weekends. I got news for you, though. I've found that I'm busier retired than when I was working. I'm not sure why. I suspect it's because the end of the road is perhaps in sight and you have a bunch of goals that you've been thinking about over the years. I know I have. Yeah, I get it. And then it's like, it's time to get it done if you can. My case is writing books, songs, fishing. No point in winding down, right? It's probably going to be a longer podcast than I normally do. Had a really busy week. There was lots of stuff going on. I got lots of stories to tell. I have been singing in the studio a lot, so my voice is a little off. If it sounds a little scratchy, I'm a little hoarse. But not to mention yelling and screaming and clapping at a concert. I'll do the best I can. I'll pause when I have to and take a sip of water. So I mentioned the construction next door for the new house is pretty much over. There's still cleanup going on, but it's way quieter now without all the hammering and sawing. And the for rent sign is up. So we need a neighbor. Anybody want to come down to the Keys? It's expensive. I won't kid. It's a nice house, 2-story, 4-bedroom. It's big, so you could actually put a couple people, maybe a couple families in there if you tried. I don't think he objects to that. Okay, some newsy stuff first. Weather's hot and humid. I think that's enough for the weather. It's August. Moon was full on Monday, and the tides are ripping. I mean ripping. Let's see what else. Hurricane Ernesto decided to go north and away from Florida. Yay. Recent Saturday red tide report once again showed no hits from coastal Florida. More good news. Again, it's great to report this. Like I said last week, I'm hoping it continues. Even after the nasty amount of water that poured out of Hurricane Debbie all over the West Coast, especially in areas that are prone to red tide. So we'll keep the fingers crossed. But anyway, more good news. I left listeners with a tease about Key West last week, and as planned, it was a blast. It was Key West. I mean, how could that be wrong? So love that place for many reasons. It's my first true getaway from the big city and all that goes with it. Heck, tourism even runs ads that say something to the effect that if you want to leave the USA without leaving the USA, go to Key West. I couldn't agree more. It just happens to be where I met my wife, Jonelli. Yep, coming up on 29 years. We actually met on Friday the 13th in October. My lucky number 13. Truthfully, it is. Here's a true story. I was in Vegas quite a while back. I was on a business trip back when we used to do the CES, Consumer Electronics shows back there in the 80s, way before I became a guide. And, of course, we did ICAST there after I became a guide, but those have all changed. Anyway, I was on a trip, and I was walking through the MGM casino, and I walked by a roulette table, and I had a stack of chips in my hand that I was getting ready to leave. It wasn't a whole lot, just a couple inches. But it was earnings. Something kind of stopped me, and I put the stack on the 13, black 13, all of it. And just a few seconds later, it hit. I mean, I won a little over $5,000. And yes, I cashed it in and I left. But just another example of 13 working for me. I haven't done that since because I haven't been to Vegas in a long time. But I think if I went back, I'd try it again. So anyway, back to Key West. And yes, Key West as Key West. We checked into the Opal Resort Marina down in Old Town. This was formerly the Margaritaville Resort. Great place and great location. Once you park the vehicle, you don't need to ride anywhere else. You're next to just about anything and everything you need to see in Old Town. That includes all the hot spots. We were there for the Stick Figure concert at Coffee Butler. I can never remember the name of it. Coffee Butler Amplifier. Great. Amphitheater, which is right down the road from us. We arrived in Key West on Sunday afternoon. Yeah, checked in and then headed to the pool. It was a zoo, but it's fun to watch. I'm a people spectator, and there's always really no better place to witness craziness than the resort swimming pool. Or on a Florida beach, too. It kind of works the same way, especially if it's one located right next to a resort. Only problem with the pool was it wasn't refreshing. Hell, it was more like a lukewarm sauna. Guessing about 90 degrees. Yeah, seriously. A lot of sunshine on that pool. And that pool was shallow. It wasn't a real deep pool. Average depth around was about 4.5 to 5 feet. I'd say at the most. So let's see. Before heading to dinner at Louie's backyard, we decided to go to a little bar, the Chart Room. It's located over in the Pier House. Some of you may have heard of it. That's the bar where Jimmy Buffett got his start. He played his first songs there. It's a little bitty. This thing would be about maybe in a standard house about, 4 bedrooms. It's not big at all. But anyway, yeah, that's where he played. It's known for its hot dogs, oddly enough. People go in there to have a hot dog. We went because it's kind of our pilgrimage. We just, go there. And it was closed. Unfortunately, the resort had a mild explosion. Actually, it was a pretty big boom because we heard it blocks away. The power station outside blew up. Knocked all the power out in the entire resort. Everything. And the word was out that it was going to take all night to get it repaired. And this was evening time. This is probably around 5 or so, I guess. Yeah, that's right, because the Chart Room opens at 5. So we'd gone there about 5:30. People walking around with their bags, trying to figure out how to stay somewhere. Because, there's nothing more fun than having your air conditioning out in a closed-up hotel room in August. Yeah, no air, baby. So I suggested another place that I had just read about and oddly enough had been to many, many years ago, but had sort of forgotten about it. It's called Berlin's Cocktail Bar. It's located on the wharf down by the A&B Lobster House. Many moons ago, I was in Key West right after the shipwreck Atocha was found by Mel Fisher and his crew. I want to say I'd have to go on the web and look it up, but it was I'm going to guess 86. That's my bet, somewhere in that time frame. And they were all in town celebrating. They've been celebrating for a couple of weeks. That wasn't like the first night or something. And on that trip, I managed to get a silver coin from the wreck via one of the divers. I'm not going to mention names or get anybody in trouble, if you know what I mean. Anyhow, I had told several of my family members, friends, that I had met the diver at A&B, but in fact, I hadn't. It was actually at Berlin's. The article I read and I saw it had a couple of really good photos in it included, and they showed the bar with these very classic red leather covered round stools, at the bar. And suddenly I knew where the transaction had occurred. I recognized it right off the bat. It was really cool to go back there again. I thought, okay, we're going down to Key West. I just read this article a couple of weeks ago. I thought, okay, we're going back down there. Let's go and see. And sure enough, when I walked in, took one look, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is where I was. This bar's been there, I think they said since the 40s and maybe before. It's classic. It is a cocktail bar. It's a cocktail lounge. As a matter of fact, they're quick to point out they do not have a blender. They don't make frozen concoctions. Make fantastic martinis and the like, and of course I had one. But it was cool to see that place again and to see where that had happened, where I'd gotten this Atocha coin. After a classic martini with some olives in it, Called a cab, headed to Louie's backyard for a wonderful dinner. This is also a location full of great memories for Janelle and myself. We had our first lunch there together, and as they say, the rest is history. Well, let's see, what do we have? We have filet mignon. Yeah, seafood is something that we get a lot of. We even get it at the house. I will go to the seafood market. If I go out to a fine dining restaurant, I lean toward beef. Sometimes I'll do pork or chicken if it's a real special dish, or like I love chicken marsala, that kind of stuff. But beef is it, and their filet there is absolutely delicious. That's what I did, and it was yummy. Also, you got a beautiful view of the Atlantic Ocean there, lots of memories for us, and lots of stories to tell over the table to each other and grin and smile at each other. you know. Then after dinner, here comes another story. After dinner, I called the cab after we were finished and had to meet us out front. It arrives, we hop in, told the driver take us to the Green Parrot. He didn't say a word. He just headed off down the wrong road in the wrong direction and made a wrong turn. It pays to know where you are on that island, including all the back roads that Janelle have traveled over. We both kind of looked at each other like, where in the hell are we going? And then I think she spoke up first. I'm not sure, but I think she asked where are we going. And he said, airport. And we said, no, we're going to the Green Parrot. He said, airport. And it became real obvious that this man knew one word in English, airport. And I know no Arabic whatsoever. So we tried to explain. He stopped. And Janelle gave him her phone. And on the map, she put the Green Parrot on there. But he couldn't even figure that out. So she got the phone back. And we said, we're leaving. We're getting out. He's like, okay. So opened the doors and out we went. And off he drove. I was like, what just happened? So I got a card out of my wallet, and I'm gonna be honest with you, that was the pink cab, which is all over Key West, and I've had trouble with them before. In my world, three strikes you're out, and that was strike number 3. Not being picked up or having no shows also counts. But I had gotten a card from a DB taxi company, DB taxi. And had a success with that one earlier. And I thought, I'm just going to call this company back. And Johnny on the spot came, picked us up, headed to the Green Parrot. We told him what happened. He said, listen, the pink cab company is really big. They're actually based out of Marathon. When you call, it calls a desk in Marathon, and the Marathon guy calls out to the cabs. And they're overrun. And so they're hiring almost anybody. And a lot of these guys that speak absolutely no English get what's known, he said, as the airport run. They pick you up at the airport, they pick you up at hotels and locations to take you to the airport. It's the only thing they know. So in other words, if you get picked up at the airport, they have no idea where they're going except for 1, 2, maybe 3 resorts that they're aware of, that they understand the English word for. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. He says, no. He said, they used to be our big competition, but not anymore. I said, yeah, I figured out why. So anyway, keep that in mind, people. DB Taxi. They do a great job of getting you around real fast. Both times a real pleasant driver. Just great. So there you go. That was our learning lesson. So we did finally get to the Green Parrot. Yay. But unfortunately, on Sunday nights, there's no live music, and I forgot that. Dummy me. But we had a drink anyway. Once you're there, you got to sit down and have a sip and talk to the bartender and smile at people and all that kind of stuff. And then eventually we got out, and now we're in walking distance. Now we're back in the upper end of Old Town. So we walked up to Captain Tony's and slid in there, and they had the what I call the performer on the stool up front, somebody singing. Which, by the way, one time I wasn't there when this happened, but people were walking in, and Kenny Chesney was the guy on the stool singing songs. I bet that shocked the hell out of a bunch of people. So we stopped in there, listened to a little bit of music, to the musician on the stool, and headed back to the room. Monday was concert day. We started the day at Two Friends Patio Restaurant on Front Street, had Bloody Marys, the best in Key West. Yes, they've been nominated and voted best in Key West for, I think, 5 or 6 years now. I don't care how long it's been, their Bloody Mary's the best in Key West, period. Had a great omelet. Oh, they make great omelets, really good omelets. And we got out of there after breakfast and decided to do something we hadn't done in 30 years, and that's ride the conch train. So some of you are probably smiling because I'm sure you've done it. It was fun. It was fun. It was okay. I mean, it was one of those things we could have skipped, but it was really interesting. And I like to point out the fact that if you are new to Key West and you've never been there, ride the conch train. They've got some great deal. It used to be you pay like $25, you got on, you rode around. Now it's like $90, but it's like a bus system, and it's an all-day event. You can get on and ride the tour, but you can also stop at stops, and you can get picked up at those stops all day long. So in other words, you can get around Key West just doing the conch train. It's kind of an expensive way to do it, but if you've never been there and you want to learn about the different parts of town and where everything is, it's a guided tour, and they talk a lot about the history of Key West and stuff like that. So I'll recommend it. It's pretty cool. So we did that. Before the concert, decided we were going to have an appetizer meal, so we went to the last flight out. That's the old Pan Am building. Actually pretty close to the hotel where we were at the Opal. Great place. We've been going there a long time. A long time. Even back when Kelly McGillis owned it. That's right, actress Kelly McGillis. Top Gun, yeah. We met her. She sang happy birthday to me. We even had a group picture with all the people that were there for my birthday with her. That was very cool. But anyway, went there. They have a really great bar. Nice to hang out there. Had people on either side of us that were interesting to talk to, which is something that I love about Key West. If you go sit anywhere and have yourself a beer, you're going to wind up talking to somebody about somewhere, and that's really cool. Now off to the concert we go for Stick Figure. We went to see Stick Figure. That concert also included Little Stranger and Soja, S-O-J-A, Soja, which means we had hit the reggae music trifecta, and I mean it was great. Basically, we had 3 reggae bands in one night for 4 straight hours. And what was really cool about this was Stick Figure's last show of their tour. And what they had done was they just basically went wild. They played their songs when they got up. They brought everybody else up. It was just a mishmash of every performer you can imagine. Also, performers that were hanging out in Key West were pulled up to play. So it was really great. I can't say enough nice things about Stick Figure, and we had front row seats. Not really, we had front row stand-ups, but it was great. We heard all of our favorite Stick Figure songs. Edge of the Ocean, that's one of my favorites. Sound of the Sea. See how these are going? Yeah, World on Fire, Once in a Lifetime, Paradise. I really like Paradise. If you haven't heard Stick Figure, it's kind of hard to describe the music. But first I have to explain to it, it's the brainchild of one person band, Scott Woodruff, who Janelle recently told me he's only 32 years old. The kid's a whiz kid. I'm going to call him a kid because he's 32 and I'm twice his age. And he has this dog named Coco, and I'll explain the dog part in just a minute. But Scott began recording all the parts of Stick Figure songs all by himself in a home studio. I mean, everything. And the songs are really very creative, and some people call him the reggae Pink Floyd. It's just, you'd have to hear it to believe it. Really, really good stuff. And then, of course, as time went on and people fell in love with the music, he had to perform it out, and there was no way in the world he could do that. So that's where all these other people come into play. And it's been fantastic. I've really enjoyed being a fan and listening to it over the past few years, and discovered it on the Kenny Chesney Sirius Music channel. It kept popping up. I'm like, who is that? That's really neat sounding. And I finally went and looked it up, started listening to some of it. It's great. It's all over YouTube. You can pull them up on YouTube if you have a YouTube. Free music. Pull it up. Look at Stick Figure and see what you think. Kind of reminds me of Paul McCartney's first album in the fact that Scott did this all on his own. McCartney, when the Beatles broke up, those of you are old enough to remember all that fun stuff, McCartney had an album called McCartney. It's the one with the bowl of cherries on the front. That entire album was recorded by McCartney, all by himself. He did all the parts, drum, bass, guitar, singing, piano, organ, everything. Even some of the instrumental stuff is done by him. And I find that really amazing. And the same thing was true for Scott Woodruff of Stick Figure. but it required him to pull these performers together. So this was the best of all worlds. He had some of the top-notch people up there playing with him. Janelle and I thoroughly enjoyed the show. Now back to Scott and Coco. Coco is his dog, and Coco travels with the band. There's also a new addition named Molly. She's now Coco's sister. She was there's a story behind Molly. She was a pound dog, if you will, that they rescued. I'm not sure how all that happened, but Coco is the star of the show. Coco comes out on the stage while they're playing and just wanders around. People throw stuffed animals up there, and Coco takes those and takes them back to his stash. It's really cool. But the dog obviously loves the crowd. He walks right up to the edge of the stage and looks at you, and the people love Coco. Coco has gotten so popular that he now has a Facebook page. And his name is spelled Cocoa, Coco. And he's got a fan club, and it's huge. He also has an Instagram page, Coco the Tour Dog. Let's see, what's the Facebook page? Coco the Tour Dog Fan Club, just so you can check this out. You can tell right away that a lot of the crowd was there for the dog. Janelle took pictures for the Florida Keys and Key West Facebook page, which if you go to Florida Keys and Key West, you'll see a lot of photos that she took there at the show. And it was amazing when she posted that stuff, how many clicks, likes, and whatnot and follows she got just from showing that dog at that concert. Pretty amazing. So, but if you get a chance to see Stick Figure, if they're traveling through and you're a reggae music fan, I would highly recommend going to see it. Tuesday morning, time to head home. Bummer, but not until we stopped at the Blue Heaven for the best lobster Benedict on the planet. Trust me on this. Be there during lobster season and give it a try. Jonelle and I were just waiting for the lobster season to turn on back on August the 6th, and we realized that, hey, we're going to a concert about a week later in Key West. So we can hit the Blue Heaven. I'm serious enough about making a trip down there just to go to breakfast there. I think I would actually do that for the lobster Benedict. So, yeah, I know I'm freaky. I can't help it. I love that stuff. I went fishing. Oh my gosh, I went fishing on Thursday. We got back on Tuesday late afternoon, and Wednesday gave me a chance to do some laundry and unpack and get myself all put together. I also did a little bit of writing, a little bit of music stuff. Thursday, it was so calm. I had a slight light breeze, 5 miles an hour to the south-southwest. One of those things where everywhere you go, it's comfortable in the boat. You got just enough breeze to cool you off when you're moving. There's no chop, none. And the water was, the full moon was approaching, so the water was moving. I'm not kidding you. Hit the upper Florida Bay area, way up, like I like to do. I got to tell you what, I didn't see a soul the whole morning. I left the boat dock about 7:30. Got to fish until close to 11, which is what I usually do. It's so hot I don't usually go to noon. Plus there were some storms building up on the north, which spread down this way. And I don't like lightning. But it was just perfectly calm and beautiful and nobody around. I went to a big grass hump that I had started fishing on. Actually, I found it a year ago, but I didn't figure it out till recently. The fish all sit in like 2 spots on this thing. It looks like they should be everywhere based on the grass. But no, and I really don't know why. That part I haven't figured out, but I do know that they like it there, so there you go. Nice trout, couple dozen, caught them on fly. It was really fun. Nice to get the fly rod back out again, as I've mentioned before. I used I called it the golden eye. That's that little Clouser pink and white, dark pink, light pink and white. Clouser that I came up with based on the soft plastics I was using. And man, oh man, it worked great. And that's all I caught there. That was the other weird thing. Normally I'll get a cuda or two, or I'll get a ladyfish or a jack. It was just solid trout, which I'm not going to complain about. It was fun. Second stop, not so good. Second stop didn't produce anybody or anything. It was really goofy. That hasn't happened in quite a while. Third stop, boy, that worked. Same area that I've caught snook, and Janelle have caught snook in the past. Got there in the water that was really, really milky. I had low coming to high is what was happening. And I started up toward the top of an island I like to work, and I thought, I'm going to work down south a little bit where the water's coming in a little stronger and get down there and see if I can't get a fish that way. And it just didn't look right, but I knew what it was. We'd had lots of breeze 2 days before. It had been out of the south, which means it's going to blow that. It's really funny. The bottom in that area is milky white in color with grass on it, and when it blows, it stirs, and it looks like chalk. And then there were hundreds, thousands of mullet, huge schools of them. I had dolphin up there with me, busting through them, trying to get throwing them out of the water, and so it was pretty cool. But that also milks the water up quite a bit because mullet travel on bottom. But I thought, get out the spin gear and let's do some blind casting. I've learned not to wear myself out on the fly. I've learned to space it. So I got the spin gear out. I put on my pink shine. You all know about that. And my jig head is the Z-Man. There we go. Trout eye in gold. And I put that on, and I made a cast up into a little, your classic cut up against the mangrove between two mangroves. And I thought to myself, if there's one around, he's sitting there. And it was. It was just like that thing wasn't in the water 3 seconds, and I felt the thump. Put it hard to it, reeled up a nice snook, about 25 inches or so, maybe 26. Got a quick snapshot, dropped it back in the water. Moved on down, several more casts, nothing, and then bang, I got another one. I also got a third one that got away. So that proved to be really lucrative. And what was neat about it was, you could not see the lure in 6 inches of water because I dropped it next to the boat just to see how much visibility I had. I just call it none. It was really crazy. So, and all 3 of those snook hit on the drop. So when I dropped that lure in there, it got hit right after it hit the water. So I was close enough to them that they turned on it and grabbed it. And so I was feeling lucky. I really was. I realized that, there's some skill involved in that kind of casting, but the fact that I couldn't see a fish and still caught him, I was pretty tickled. And once again, the pink shine comes through. And I got to say this, I did not catch a single barracuda the whole morning. I cannot tell you how weird that is. I don't know where they went. I don't know why they weren't there because they're always there. I could go out on any given day and catch 20 cudas without batting an eye. It was weird. I think I got 1 or 2 little snapper, 1 little jack, and the snook, and of course a whole bunch of trout at the first stop. But that was very, very strange not getting a cuda. Really strange. The ride back was nice. I want to put a little addendum on the end of this. You get so used to being bumped around on the open water out there. And you are fishing on open water when you go across Florida Bay. Florida Bay is not all crooks and crannies like it is coming up, like Alavala Mirada. You have great big open bays you have to cross. And I am so used to the afternoon breezes coming up and getting beat up. It didn't happen. And by that time, the water had come in. The tide was coming in real good. So the water got really clear and really pretty. It was a beautiful ride back. So the only other people I did see was close to home. I saw 2 boats with families in them, and that's it. It was pretty remarkable to go out in August on a Thursday. There are some people in town, but obviously it's really laid back right now, and not really run into anybody. So I'll take it. I really will. My book, What I Know About Fishing the Florida Keys, I know more now than I did when I wrote the book. Yeah, it's a learning curve every single day, but a lot of it's in the book. It's available on the website at catchoutdoors.com. Selling well. Get your signed first release copy while you can. It's draining. Yeah, it is draining. I didn't look at the boxes, but I think I'm down to 1 carton. So get it while you can. Don't worry if you don't. Unsigned copies are available at Amazon. They are online. Studio time. This past week, I got more studio time done. I'm working on 3 songs. The Light, which is now titled The Guiding Light. Slight little change to the light. Bayou Bay and Alligator Church, the guiding lights about the Alligator Lighthouse and the work that's being done to save it. Bayou Bay is a reggae tune. I hope y'all are going to enjoy it. I know Billy working on it. He's nuts about it. He's already figured out that I'm going to have him record his voice on it. He's going to use it at the Lorelei, so I'm excited about that. And then Alligator Church, you'll have to listen to it. I don't want to give too much away. Pretty crazy. We finished up some of the lyrics and whatnot on Saturday night, which for me was last night, but on Saturday night. So it's almost ready to go to the guys up in New York and get the bass and drums added. We're talking about maybe steel drums in one of them, and perhaps going back to pedal steel in one of the songs too. We haven't decided all that yet, but we'll see what's happening. This is getting easier and easier with each new song. Like anything else, there's this learning curve that goes with it. And I'll say this, Billy is great to work with. He's a good instructor. He helps me learn how to better structure my songs. He really loves this stuff, and he's been at it for 50 years, so it's not like he doesn't know what he's doing. So it's fun to be with him in the studio. It really is. All right, I think it's time for some useless information.
And now, from the original book of useless information.
You are a reject! You are useless! You can get a job down here cleaning toilets!
Here's your host, Captain Rob Modies.
Well, he swears up and down he's useless, but
he might be all right eventually, but completely useless.
With useless information.
Okay, here we go. But behind fishing stuff, this is the second most requested thing that happens on this podcast. All right, let's see. Leif Erikson was the first European to set foot in North America in 1000 AD, not Columbus. That's an interesting tidbit. New Zealand was the first country to give women the vote in 1890. First American spaceman was Alan B. Shepard Jr. I knew that. I was around when that happened. The Wright brothers' first plane was called the Bird of Prey. There you go. That's it. That's all you get. Until next week. Yeah, it'll be back next week. So, and before I go, some final words, as usual, because I can. This friendship started back in 2005. I was a fishing guide working out of the public ramp in Fort Myers when I was asked to join a group of guides that'd be located at Fishtail Marina on Fort Myers Beach. Al Durrett, the owner, asked if I'd join him in putting together, in his words, the best group of guides in Southwest Florida. I said yes, and my professional life changed that day. Al passed away last week. He was without question one of the good ones, and he'll be missed by all of us lucky enough to have worked with him over the years. I guess I'm going to have another guardian looking over me when I'm out there on the water. Rest in peace, Al. Thank you all. I'll talk to you all next week. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed listening, please tell a friend, leave a review, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. The Facebook page is Catch Ya Outdoors. Website is catchaoutdoors.com, where you can find all the previous podcasts and a schedule of what's to come. Until next time, get outdoors and enjoy.